I want to share a little tip with you today. It's something I came across in the reviews section for some ND filters that I was looking for. I needed a couple of ND filters for two of my lenses for my Sony cameras, and now you can use ND filters for still photography, but I was looking for something for my video work. So for me, since I shoot at 24 frames per second for the most part, that requires a shutter speed, you know, if you're doing it the right way, if you're doing it kind of the traditional way, that requires a shutter speed of around 1/48th, 1/50th of a second. So you're shooting about 1/50th of a second. ISO is going to be something pretty low. You know, if you're shooting outdoors in bright daylight, one of my lenses, my 85mm, I can shoot it as open as 1.4. So, you know, with that lens, I kind of like to shoot in the 1.4 to f2.8 range if I can get away with it. So here's the thing: if you want to shoot with the proper shutter speed, 1/50th of a second, and you've gone to your lowest ISO, say 100, and you want to shoot with a f2.8 to 1.4, something in that range, you've got to find a way to cut down the light so that everything just doesn't blow out. Since the sunlight is your main light, it's the ambient light around you in your scene, how do you turn the sunlight down to make the exposure work? You really can't, but you can use an ND filter, a neutral density filter. I have one for my 85mm, and I bought this primarily for portrait work, just in case I need it. It's a 3-stop filter. It's a 77mm diameter, and it works pretty well. I bought this one from ProMaster. You know, it's worked out pretty well for me, and quality is good. Like I said, it's designed to fit on this lens. This is my 85, and it fits on right there. So let's say that I was forced to shoot no wider than, say, f8, and I wanted to open the lens up a little wider than that. I put this guy on, and it cuts the light down, the outside light, the ambient light. Put this guy on, and I can shoot at 3 stops wider. Maybe I can get to f4 with this guy on. But that's really generous if you think about it, because I'm probably actually being forced to shoot, especially here in Texas where I am now, probably forced to shoot at something more in the, f11 range. Depending on how bright it is outside. What I needed was something that gave me a little more room, like say maybe 6 or 8 stops of light reduction. So I was looking around for something else, and I figured, probably get something variable, which is a variable ND filter like this. This particular one from Tiffin allows you to cut your light down from between 2 stops and 8 stops, so it gives you a lot more room in the way that you do it. So you see right here, it's pretty clear, and you just turn this dial, you just turn the filter a little bit, and you get more and more light reduction until you hit right around 8 stops of reduction. So yeah, the thing is that these things aren't cheap, and I needed 2 of them, so I thought. I needed one for my 24-70, which has a 67mm diameter thread for filters like this, whether you're using, an ND filter or a UV filter or something like that. It's a 67mm diameter. My 85mm lens, which is, that other lens that I wanted to be able to use with an ND filter, it has a 77mm diameter filter thread. That would mean that I'd need to buy one of these for each of those filter diameter sizes. And as I'm looking through reviews and seeing, okay, well, how am I going to spend my money? What's the best filter to buy? I came across this little tip that said, hey, don't buy one of these for each of your lenses. Just buy a big diameter one that can fit over all your other lenses. So that way you can kind of share the filter between lenses instead of buying one for each lens. And how do you do that? The solution is simple: step-up rings. Why didn't I think of that? So to use this 82mm ND filter I purchased on my 85, I needed an adapter ring. So the simple solution was a step-up ring. All you need to do is attach the step-up ring to the lens, then attach the ND filter to the step-up ring. And the same thing with my 24-70, which takes, like I said before, 67 millimeter filters. The ND filter, it's way too big, obviously, so use a 67 to 82 millimeter step-up ring and problem solved. So I can use a one ND filter between the two different lenses, and that saved me over $100. I didn't have to buy another one of these. I didn't have to buy one for one lens and one for the other. And maybe if I bought another lens, if another lens comes along and it is 82 millimeters or less in as far as the filter thread diameter goes, I can use that on the new lens. Now I should say that when you use filters this way, it can make it impossible to use your lens hood, so keep that in mind. Now a larger filter over a smaller lens is okay, but you probably shouldn't use a smaller filter over a larger lens with the step-up ring, because you're going to get a lot of vignetting. You're just going to block a lot of the light coming into the sensor, and you're just going to lose a lot of your picture that way. Now one other thing, just make sure that you don't over tighten either the filter into the step-up ring or the step-up ring into the lens. Just don't over tighten these things, because they can get stuck. They can be really hard to remove. Sometimes even if you don't over tighten, they can get stuck. You might want to add a tiny amount of mineral oil or some kind of appropriate lubricant to the threads just to help keep them from getting stuck. But be very careful not to get any substance on the lenses themselves. Don't get any of that oil where it shouldn't go. Maybe 1 or 2 drops at the most. So hey, step-up rings, a really simple solution, inexpensive, and they can save you a lot of money like they did for me. If you've got any tips that you'd like to share, drop them in the comments below. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have my mind open to other people's tips from now on. I can't believe I never heard of this one before until now. Just goes to show you an old dog can learn new tricks. Click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.